Rosemary is one of those plants most people think they already know. It sits quietly in kitchens, on balconies, in gardens, and in markets, usually treated as nothing more than a fragrant herb for roasted potatoes, grilled meat, or homemade bread. Its smell is familiar, its appearance modest, and its place in everyday life seems simple. But behind that common image hides something far more remarkable. Rosemary is not just a culinary herb. It is one of the most chemically powerful plants in the natural world, and modern science is beginning to confirm what traditional medicine seemed to understand long ago. This ordinary-looking plant contains compounds so active and so biologically significant that researchers are now studying it for its effects on the brain, inflammation, infection, and even cellular protection. Once you understand what rosemary really does inside the body, you may never look at it the same way again. What makes rosemary so special is not just its aroma or its long history of use, it is its internal chemistry. When scientists analyze rosemary in the laboratory, they do not see a simple herb. They see a dense concentration of active molecules with impressive biological properties. One of the most important is rosmarinic acid, a polyphenol with strong antioxidant effects. Antioxidants help protect the body against oxidative stress, a process driven by unstable molecules called free radicals. These molecules damage cells over time and contribute to aging, inflammation, and the development of many chronic diseases. Rosemary also contains carnosic acid and carnosol, two compounds that have drawn serious attention in scientific research because of their ability to protect tissues, especially brain cells, from damage linked to inflammation and oxidation. Then there is 1,8-cineol, also known as eucalyptol, a compound found in rosemary essential oil. This substance is especially interesting because it can influence the nervous system. It is small enough to cross into the brain and affect neurotransmitter activity, which helps explain why rosemary has long been associated with memory and alertness. In addition to these compounds, rosemary contains flavonoids, phenolic acids, camphor, borneol, and a range of micronutrients. In other words, this is not a plant with one benefit and one active ingredient. It is a complex natural formula built by millions of years of evolution, and that complexity may be one of the reasons it works in so many different ways. Among all its potential benefits, rosemary's effects on the brain are perhaps the most fascinating. For many years, rosemary was linked in folklore with remembrance and mental clarity. Today, researchers are exploring that connection through measurable biological mechanisms. One of the most important discoveries is that rosemary appears to affect acetylcholinesterase, the enzyme responsible for breaking down acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter essential for memory, learning, focus, and mental processing. In conditions involving cognitive decline, levels of acetylcholine often drop, which is one reason some medications used in memory disorders work by slowing its breakdown. Rosemary extracts have shown a similar ability in laboratory settings. That does not mean rosemary replaces prescription medicine, but it does mean the plant shares a scientifically important mechanism that could help explain its traditional reputation. Research on rosemary's aroma is also striking. In human studies, exposure to rosemary essential oil has been associated with improved memory performance and sharper mental focus. In one well-known study, participants exposed to the scent of rosemary performed better on tests involving prospective memory, the type of memory that helps you remember to do something later. What made the results even more compelling was that the improvement correlated with levels of aromatic compounds detected in the participants' blood. In other words, simply inhaling rosemary appeared to have a measurable cognitive effect. That finding is extraordinary because it suggests rosemary may support mental performance without even being consumed. It is rare to find a plant that can influence the mind so gently and yet so noticeably. Animal studies add another layer to the story. In models of cognitive decline, rosemary compounds have been shown to reduce markers of brain inflammation and oxidative injury while improving performance in memory-based tasks. Researchers describe these effects as neuroprotective, meaning they may help shield the brain from damage over time. This has sparked growing interest in rosemary as a supportive tool for healthy aging, especially in a world where concerns about memory loss and cognitive decline are increasing year after year. Beyond the brain, rosemary also stands out for its powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant activity. Chronic low-grade inflammation is now recognized as one of the hidden forces driving many of the most common diseases of modern life. Conditions such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, joint disorders, metabolic dysfunction, and even some forms of cognitive decline are linked to persistent inflammation in the body. Rosemary appears to act on some of the same inflammatory pathways targeted by common anti-inflammatory drugs. Its active compounds can influence enzymes involved in the production of inflammatory signals, helping reduce the intensity of that response. What makes this especially interesting is that rosemary may offer this support in a gentler way when used as a food, infusion, or aromatic aid. Unlike many conventional anti-inflammatory medications, which can irritate the stomach or create unwanted side effects when used for long periods, rosemary has traditionally been consumed in everyday life with a much more favorable safety profile when used reasonably. Its antioxidant power adds to this effect by helping neutralize free radicals before they damage tissues. This combination of anti-inflammatory and antioxidant action is one of the main reasons rosemary is being studied in connection with long-term health protection. Rosemary may also support cardiovascular health. Some studies suggest that its compounds can help protect blood vessels from oxidative damage and influence processes linked to clot formation. Others indicate potential benefits in maintaining healthier cholesterol balance and protecting against oxidation of LDL particles, which is a key step in the development of atherosclerosis. At the same time, rosemary has been valued for centuries as a digestive aid. It can stimulate bile flow, support fat digestion, ease bloating, and calm intestinal discomfort. Traditional medicine used rosemary for heavy digestion, sluggishness after meals, and digestive spasms, and modern investigation has provided support for several of these uses. Another reason rosemary is attracting scientific interest is its antimicrobial activity. Extracts and essential oils from rosemary have shown effects against a range of bacteria and fungi in laboratory research. This includes organisms that are relevant to food safety and human health. In an era where antibiotic resistance is a global concern, any plant with reproducible antimicrobial properties becomes important to study. Rosemary is now being explored not only for health applications, but also for natural preservation in foods, because its compounds may help limit microbial growth while also offering antioxidant protection. Perhaps the most delicate and carefully discussed area of rosemary research involves cancer biology. Laboratory studies on certain rosemary compounds, especially carnosol and carnosic acid, have shown that they can affect cancer cells in meaningful ways under controlled conditions. In some experiments, these compounds have slowed cell growth, reduced proliferation, and triggered apoptosis, the programmed death of damaged or abnormal cells. These effects have been observed in cell models involving breast, colon, prostate, lung, and blood-related cancers. This does not mean rosemary is a cure for cancer, and it should never be presented that way. The gap between a laboratory study and a proven clinical treatment is enormous. But the fact that these findings are consistent enough to keep attracting research tells us that rosemary contains molecules worthy of serious attention. So how can rosemary be used in daily life in a practical and intelligent way? The simplest method is to use it regularly in cooking. Fresh rosemary can be added to vegetables, soups, fish, chicken, roasted dishes, and marinades. It not only enhances flavor but also introduces beneficial plant compounds into the meal. Some evidence even suggests that cooking meat with rosemary may reduce the formation of certain harmful compounds that appear during high-temperature cooking. That makes rosemary more than a seasoning. It becomes part of a smarter way to prepare food. Another useful form is rosemary tea. A simple infusion made from fresh or dried rosemary leaves can be used to support digestion, circulation, and mild mental fatigue. When prepared properly and consumed in moderation, it can be a calming yet stimulating addition to a daily routine. Rosemary essential oil is also widely used in aromatherapy. Diffused in a room before work, reading, or study, it may help improve concentration and mental clarity. Some people also use diluted rosemary oil externally, though essential oils should always be handled with care because they are highly concentrated. For those interested in supplements, standardized rosemary extracts are available and may offer more concentrated levels of specific compounds. Still, quality matters, and anyone considering regular use in concentrated form should choose reputable products and remain mindful of dosage. Rosemary is powerful, and that is exactly why it deserves respect. It is not a substitute for prescribed treatment, and people taking medication for blood pressure, diabetes, seizures, or blood thinning should be especially cautious and seek professional advice before using large amounts regularly. What rosemary reminds us of is something modern life often forgets. Some of the most powerful substances for supporting the body do not always come from a laboratory. Sometimes they are growing quietly in nature, waiting to be understood more deeply. Rosemary is one of those plants. Easy to find, Affordable, rich in history, and supported by growing scientific interest, it stands as a remarkable example of how much natural compounds can do. What many people see as a simple kitchen herb may actually be one of the most underestimated allies for the brain, the body, and long-term wellness.